I did the impossible once. I ran a marathon. Big deal, right? Lots of people run marathons. Bill Clinton ran a marathon. Oprah ran a marathon. 500,000 people each year run marathons. And when they do, they're running alongside world-class athletes and Olympic record holders, all in one event. Because everybody does it exactly the same way. One foot in front of the other. Once I learned how to run, taking on a marathon became what I call a powerful maybe. Something I thought I could never do that slowly became a reality. Slowly being the key word. A marathon is 26 miles. 26.2 to be exact. It commemorates the distance run by Phidippides in ancient Greece from the city of Marathon to Athens to deliver news of an important Greek victory. I don't know how long it took Phidippides to run his marathon, but mine took 6 hours. It wasn't those 6 hours that were the greatest obstacle, though. It was the 25 years and 6 months leading up to race day. Until the year 2000, if you had asked me, do you run? I'd have answered, only when I'm being chased. My friend Shane recalls that I once said to him, I don't know how to run, which he found very amusing. He challenged me to learn how. I knew nothing of running and marathoning. I was very puzzled as to how anybody could calculate their exact time, with hundreds of people crossing the start line and hundreds of people crossing the finish line all at once. Did you know that marathon runners have an electronic chip laced into their running shoes that tells the computer the exact time they start and the exact time they finish? I had no idea about any of this until I ran a marathon. I was not only unfit and uninformed, I was a chronic non-mover and non-exerciser. I protested the fact that physical education had to be part of my high school experience, asking my gym teacher why we had to play badminton of all things. She told me it was good for eye-hand coordination. Eye-hand coordination, I said? Can't we just play the piano or knit or something? I proudly led what you would call a sedentary lifestyle, with my main activities being reading books, watching MTV, and playing Super Mario Brothers on my Nintendo. And although I was never truly overweight in a clinical sense, I am what my mother-in-law calls a good eater. I was also a smoker. You may think that when someone who smokes takes up running, that the smoking part ends before the running part begins. That sounds pretty logical, but that's not exactly what happened in my case. I distinctly remember when I was down to 2 cigarettes a day that one of them would come after my morning run. I'd come home, stretch, shower, and settle in on the porch for a smoke. Eventually, though, the pleasure you get from running will outweigh the pleasure you get from smoking. A running habit will ultimately overtake a smoking habit. Smoking was not even the greatest challenge I faced when I became a runner. Running requires sustained motivation, not only while you're moving, but between runs. I asked my friend Shane, how do you do it when you could just stay in bed? He simplified it for me. He said, some mornings, you just have to get your shoes on and get out there. The big question of being an athlete then became, can I set an alarm? Yes, I can set an alarm. Can I tie my shoes? Yes, I can tie my shoes. I started running, and I kept going. That powerful maybe kept echoing in my head. 8 little letters. Marathon. That gnawing, nagging voice that says, I cannot prove that I can't do this thing, so maybe I will prove that I can. The voice was then saying to me, look up the date of the Chicago Marathon and count backward. There was time. I had run out of excuses. I didn't have everything I needed, though. I needed structure, accountability, and inspiration. Lo and behold, there was an information session at my local public library about Team in Training, a running program that's part of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. If you agree to raise pledge donations for cancer research, they'll give you a coach, a mentor, organized group runs, and they'll pair you with a patient hero. Somebody, usually a child, who's suffering with blood cancer, on whose behalf you run your race. Talk about motivation. So began my training. I'd get up at the crack of dawn and run through the streets of my neighborhood, some days alongside the garbage trucks, thinking, this is the best part of my day. The rest of my day might suck compared to this. This is the best part of my day. I'd report my progress to my coach and mentor, read my training manual, fill out the charts, one foot in front of the other, all the while counting down to race day. Here's what I remember of my marathon. It was cold. October 13th, 2002, on the Chicago lakefront. First thing in the morning, in the Windy City. Thousands of runners waiting around, shivering, in view of Lake Michigan. Did you know that when people run marathons in cold weather, they're actually encouraged to wear a bunch of extra layers like hats and sweatpants and scarves, and then just toss those clothes to the side as they get warmed up? Then big trucks come along and collect up all those clothes and donate them to the homeless. I had no idea about any of this until I ran a marathon. My coach said to me, though, keep your gloves. He said, when you come toward the finish, you'll be running north for a couple of blocks and the wind is going to pick up. Okay, I said. And I started running. I got to mile 13, the halfway point. And news was filtering in along the people on the sidewalks that Paula Radcliffe had just finished the race, setting a new world record for women's marathon. Paula's race was over, and I was only at mile 13. There are loudspeakers along the race route, though, and they play music. And when I was at mile 13, the song that was playing was Eye of the Tiger. It's the eye of the tiger, right? It's the thrill of the fight. I kept going. Around mile 22, I became aware that a blister the size of a $50 was forming on the inside of my left foot. I remember thinking, that is a blister, but this is a marathon. My coach had given me one other very valuable piece of advice. He said, there will come a point late in the race when you know you're going to finish. When you come to that point, leave something on the course. By then, I was sufficiently warmed up and had discarded all of my extra layers. But I'd been wearing a small plastic bracelet with the name of my patient hero, Rebecca, and I left it on the pavement at mile 23. The next mile took runners through a dark and dingy tunnel on the south side of the city. It was brutal. The loudspeakers there were playing the theme from Chariots of Fire. If you've ever been moved by this music, imagine hearing it when you've been on your feet, in motion, for 5.5 hours in your first marathon. That was mile 24. As I approached the finish line, which is at the top of a small hill, I knew I'd need a very good song to carry me across the line. In the distance, I heard the refrain of a pop song that I knew, a hit by the band Smash Mouth called All Star. Hey now, get your game on. You're an all-star. Go play. I had slowed down considerably by this point, but I was still moving forward. You'll never shine if you don't glow. You'll never know if you don't go. I crossed the finish line and threw my hands up, gloves and all. Throughout my training, I had been following a sports writer named John Bingham, who's become something of an inspiration to non-movers and non-exercisers who want to learn how to run and maybe take on a marathon. Bingham said, the miracle is not that I finished. The miracle is that I had the courage to start. When you find yourself thinking about something you could never do, ask yourself, what is the fundamental difference between you and those people? The others. The ones you think are bigger, smaller, older, younger, and that's why they do what they do. The difference is they started, and finishing is highly correlated with starting. When you start, you bust up your never and leave it in the dust, You keep moving forward. You then break up that giant can I question into smaller pieces. Can I set an alarm? Yes. Can I tie my shoes? Yes. Can I open that book? Can I fill out that application? Can I make the next phone call? Can I start? Hey, now you're an all-star. Get your game on.